Alrighty, it is going live.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to David T. Howard's Go Team meeting, where we will follow the agenda that has been emailed to you and publicly noted. We will call this meeting to order at 4:48 p.m. First order of business is to call roll and to review our norms. Miss Madam Secretary, Ms. Baker, will you please call the roll for us?
I shall. Ms. Antone?
I'm present.
Mr. Abernathy?
Present.
Ms. Baker's present. Mr. Webb?
Present.
Ms. Reese?
Present.
Ms. Keenan?
Present.
Ms. Walker? And Ms. Sheets?
Present.
Thank you very much, everyone.
All right, Ms. Baker, do we have a quorum this afternoon?
I believe we do.
All right, first order is to go in and approve the agenda.
I believe there are two items that need to be added to the agenda. And I can make a motion, but the first item is the safety discussion, where we invited Chief Applin and Mr. Brown to attend. So I would recommend that comes before principal's report. So I think Mr. Brown might need to stick around, but that would enable Chief Applin to sign off. So I don't know if it's an information item or a discussion item. But so that's the first one, the safety discussion. And then for the principal's report, I also believe that we need to update or add a discussion of filling the open sixth grade counselor role. So I guess, Coach, do you think should the safety discussion, should that be a discussion item or an information item? And then I can make a motion on that.
This should be an information item.
Okay, so I'll do my first motion then. I move to add a safety discussion to section 3, information items above the principal's report.
All right, would anybody like to second that?
Second. I second it. Joyce Sheets.
Ms. Sheets? And then we'll approve the whole agenda altogether once we get everything set on it. Was anything else that needed to be added to the agenda?
Yes, I apologize, Coach. I think I made it kind of confusing. Let me withdraw
Because we
that
need to
motion.
get all the items on, and then
Let
we'll
me
approve
withdraw
the
that
agenda as a whole.
motion. Yeah, I apologize. I'm going to withdraw that motion and I'm going to make a new motion. I move that we add the public safety discussion under section 3 and that we add a discussion of the replacement of the sixth grade counselor to the principal's report.
Jesse Webb, I second.
All right. Get those added in. And all those in favor. Hold on.
Just for the purpose of my note keeping. So Ms. Keenan, I've added that she made a motion to add items. So we need to then have a motion of approval made.
Yes, as I was about to get to that.
Okay,
I was reading a note from Mr. Kobe.
okay.
All right, do we have a motion to approve all items that are listed on the agenda?
I'll do that again. I move
Ms.
to approve-
Sheets?
I move
Ms.
to approve all items.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Jennifer Keenan, second.
Okay, Ms. Sheets motion, Ms. Keenan second. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, raise your hand. Any abstentions, raise your hand. All right, the agenda is approved. Before we get to the vacant seat, I want to go ahead and approve the previous minutes. Can I have a motion to approve those? I sent those to you all in email.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Ms. Baker's motion, anyone want a second?
I second that, Coach.
All right, Ms. Antone second. Or can Ms. Antone second that as a voting member, Mr. Kobe?
The principal cannot second motions.
Okay, that's what I figured. She wasn't a voting member.
I second.
All right, Ms. Keenan second. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, raise your hand. Any abstentions? All right, previous minutes are approved. All right, let me move over to the next script. All right. We will now fill the vacant seat that was left open by Ms. Poe, a staff member. Ms. Antone, do you have any nominations for our Go Team vacant seat?
Yes, I do. We do have Dr. Regina Bryant, who was very interested in serving as a Go Team member. And so for the nomination of Dr. Regina Bryant to fill the vacant position of instructional staff, I did place her bio in the chat for anyone that would like to see that. Her bio is in the chat. And so if you want to take a minute to read over that, discuss, comment, and is this the time where Dr. Bryant can say a few things about herself? Coach Abernathy?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Do I have the floor at this time?
Yes, ma'am, Dr. Bryant.
Okay, thank you. I'm Dr. Regina Bryant, and I'm a veteran teacher here at David T. Howard Middle School. I've been with Atlanta Public Schools for going on 28 years. I actually came to Inman Middle School back 1993, 94 time period, and I moved to Thurgood Marshall Middle School and I was the French and Spanish teacher there. I've held a lot of positions within Atlanta Public Schools in terms of leadership. And also, more importantly, I was on the first Go Team at Inman Middle School. And I had the opportunity to help the principal at that time make decisions. Also, I was also instrumental in getting the principal for Inman Middle School during that time period. So I would like to be welcomed into this organization. I think it's a fine organization, and I really would like to be a part of it. Thank you.
Okay.
And you can see the rest in the bio.
Gotcha. So thank you, Ms. Antone. We will now proceed with the vote of this nomination. Thank you also, Ms. Bryant. For the nomination of Dr. Bryant to fill the vacant position of instructional staff, does anyone have any comments or discussion about this nominee? All right, we'll move on to the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. Any abstentions, please raise your hand. All right, any vacant seat is voted in by a majority vote. Do we have a majority vote, Ms. Baker?
We do.
All right. Let's welcome in Dr. Regina Baker. We're
Bryant.
very, Bryant, I'm
Bryant.
sorry, Bryant. I got Baker, I'm saying Baker and Bryant. Dr. Bryant, we're glad to have you on. Thank you.
Welcome,
Sorry about
Dr.
that.
Bryant.
I'm still toggling. I'm sorry, Dr. Bryant.
That's okay. I
You know,
understand.
I got
Long
number love
day.
for you.
It was
I
a
know,
long day.
number love for you.
I know.
All right. All right, let's flip back to the next screen. All right, now we will move on to discussion items. First item that we have for discussion is identifying the top 2 strategic priorities.
All right. Will you give me rights to share, Coach Abernathy?
Mr. Perry has the rights.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. And just let me know if you're able to see what's there. Just say
Yes.
budget
Yes, we can
development
see it.
process.
Yes.
We can see it.
Thank you. All right, so now we will begin looking at ranking our priorities. And our norms is that this is a meeting of the GO team. Only members of the team may participate in the discussion. Any members of the public present are here to quietly observe. We will follow the agenda as noticed to the public and stay on task. We do invite and welcome contributions of every member and listen to each other, and we will respect all ideas and assume good intentions. We will be looking at a data review, strategic plan review, and our budget parameters. And basically, as interim principal, my role will be to design the budget. Here, we are working along with Mr. Brown and proposing operational changes that can raise student achievement, flesh out strategies, implement and manage them at the school level, focus on the day-to-day operations, and serve as the expert on the school, and hire quality instructional and support personnel. The GO team's role would be to focus on the big picture, positions and resources, not people, and ensure that the budget is aligned to the school's mission and vision, and that resources are allocated to support key strategic priorities. And so I think everyone can recall the strategic plan that we all approved in our last meeting. This was the one that we actually updated and approved as a GO team. And so what we are charged with today is ranking our priorities, but first we have to select our top 2 priorities. And what we'll do is we'll copy and paste those priorities into these 2 boxes, and also our 2 top SMART goals for fiscal year 23. That's for next year, the upcoming school year. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go back to our school priorities. As you can see here in the middle of the slide where it says school strategic priorities. And so I do want to open it up for our GO team discussion in terms of which 2 priorities we feel should be the top 2.
Well, I would recommend that priority 3 and priority 7 be our top 2 priorities. I feel that priority 3 is pretty broad, and it encompasses a lot of the things that we've talked about that we want to achieve. An informed and engaged school culture, positive and safe school culture. I think those are all key items that we've discussed. So I feel that 3 really encapsulates a lot of our goals. And then the other one that I would recommend is number 7, create an environment that motivates and retains staff members. You know, we've spent a lot of time at the GO team noting the hardships and that our teachers and administrators and school environment have been under with COVID and remote learning and being in a new building and all of the challenges that we faced. So I think that 7 is a very important priority as well. So again, my recommendations are 3 and 7.
Okay. Anyone else would like to share what their recommendations would be or suggestions, feedback?
Does number 7 kind of, does it encapsulate 8, or is 8 broader than 7? Provide the necessary supports and resources to enhance teaching and learning?
That is a good question. You really could, in terms of creating an environment that motivates and retains staff members. I guess part of retaining staff members could be providing them with necessary supports.
Yeah, I honestly kind of went back and forth between 7 and 8. But I thought 7 was actually broader, and 8 to me, resources to enhance teaching, to me, that could also include curriculum type items.
Oh, okay.
That was my thinking. Whereas 7, in my mind, is helping to focus on the well-being of our teachers who have been under so much strain and pressure. So I feel like 7 would give us maybe more flexibility.
Okay. The strategy for 7 is ongoing professional learning for new teachers to strengthen skills and increase the number of teachers with gifted certification.
Yes.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
okay.
I agree with Ms. Reese. It looks like 7 in the pink part really supports 8 instead of 7. Because we talked about supports and resources to enhance teaching and learning. Well, that would be ongoing professional learning usually. Whereas I think what Ms. Keenan is talking about is kind of the fuzzy SEL stuff for teachers.
Yeah.
She's not wrong. I mean, nationally, every single, like I follow a bunch of people on Twitter, and teachers are very exhausted. It's not a Georgia, it's a, I don't know if it's a world problem, but it's definitely in America, teachers are tired.
Yeah.
Right.
So am I hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, am I hearing we want to go more so with number 7?
Yeah, I think if we go with number 7, then our strategy needs to really be in line with it. And right now, it doesn't seem to be in line with what with what we want it to accomplish.
I agree.
Okay.
So I guess Ms. Jacoby, in talking about a school strategic priority, that's a broad item. And then a school strategy is a more specific item. Are we limited to the school strategy in implementing the strategic priority? In other words, if we say that 7 is one of our top 2 strategic priorities, can we only engage in number 7 school strategies, or can we do more things to achieve number 7 of our strategic priorities?
So strategies are the management arm, and they're there to give the governance team an idea of how this is going to be. The management team can always add additional strategies to address that priority. Just while at a school level, our budgets don't shift that much, but what you would see at higher levels of governance is if Ms. Antone has this new strategy to address this priority that would require a change in budget. Think like at school board level over a certain amount of money, or even at like city councils or whatnot, then it has to come to that governing board. So for the Go team level, Ms. Antone has other strategies at her disposal, so long as it can be covered in the budget that you all have discussed. So if, as she's developing her budget, if she thinks of, okay, you told me that number 7's a priority, and I just found this wonderful program that we don't have in our strategies, but it's going to address the priority, then you may have to update your strategic plan a little to reflect that. But please remember, the strategic plans are living documents. And what you guys at the Go team are most concerned with are those priorities and the
Okay.
outcomes. But I will recommend that if there are major changes or major additions to strategies, that it does get brought to the Go team so that they're just aware of what's going on in the building.
Okay, all right, and just to put things into perspective as well, just so as you're thinking through these things, you'll have this in mind. Before we look at the budget, we're documenting the top 2 priorities and 2 top SMART goals, because we want this to guide our decision making as it relates to the budget. Okay, so am I hearing priority number 3 and priority number 7? Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with those. I think that 7 strategy needs to be tweaked, because what we're talking about is less focused now on things like gifted certification than it might have been 2 months ago.
Okay. All right. So what I'm doing here, I'm just going to go and grab it so I won't have to type everything in. Just going to go grab number 3, and you said 7. Uh-oh, let me go back. I hope this works. So grab, you said 3 and 7, correct? Let's see. And for some reason, let me see if I can get it there.
And while Miss Antone's cutting and pasting, you know, I think it'd be pretty easy to achieve what we're talking about. So under school strategies, instead of making it 7 and 8, those last 2 are both. You know, the last one is 7/8, and the second to last one is actually 7/8, and the last one is 7/8, because both of those tie into 7 and 8 strategic priorities. That would be kind of, I think, an easy way to achieve this, because I definitely understand what you're saying. 7 strategic priority to me, as I said, is very broad, but then our school strategy on number 7 is pretty narrow.
So we're wanting to do 7/8.
Well, actually, what I was recommending was, actually, we could do that. Mr. Kobe, would that be okay if we have, well, we have 3 top 2 priorities? Or do we really need to limit it to 2?
I mean, I could see doing a create number 7 and just updating the strategies, since it is a living document.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was actually saying, is on the strategies, make the last 2 7/8. So the last 2 strategies are
Okay.
both supporting 7 and 8 strategic priorities.
Got it. Okay. And then we're documenting number 7 here.
Mhm.
Okay.
I just want to make sure, I understand that people are going to say training, but if a teacher's at the end of the rope, putting them in a professional development is not going to give them what they need. I don't think.
I think what we're saying is to update the strategies.
Okay.
So that it can reflect what we're trying to get at here.
Okay. Awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. And then the 2 SMART goals, let me go back to, all right, so the 2 SMART goals, you know, we have close the achievement gap between all subgroups and increase the percentage of proficient and distinguished learners in ELA and math, increase access to more rigorous coursework for historically disadvantaged student populations and gifted student populations, reduce the number of out-of-school suspensions, and foster student participation in shaping the culture and climate of the learning community. So we need to select 2 of our SMART goals.
I believe that the last one, the foster student participation, really ties into strategic priority number 3. So for me, that would be the SMART goal, one of the 2 SMART goals that I would select.
Anyone else? We want to make sure that we select 2 SMART goals.
Ms. Anton, can you make your screen a little bit bigger, please?
Yes,
Thank you. I know I'm not the only one that needs that.
you are.
I
certainly-
think you were looking at me when you made that request.
No, I'm like trying to read. I couldn't read it. Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
I think the problem is none of the other 3 SMART goals really tie in to number 3 strategic priority or number 7 strategic priority. So as I said, I think only the last one ties into it. So I guess I'd like to hear from the teachers, which of the 3 remaining SMART goals help strengthen our commitment to number 7.
Dr. Bryant, what do you think? I'm not the only teacher in this rodeo.
I'm thinking, and these SMART goals, they're 4 SMART goals. I'm trying to study the document because I'm just now seeing everything. The last one, foster student participation in shaping the culture and climate of the learning community. And looking at creating an environment that motivates and retains staff and members.
I'm wondering.
I'm
if it
kind
was the
of
second
trying to
one.
understand what utilizing students to change the culture and climate.
Yeah, and Mr. Kobe, does it have to be tied to those priorities?
I'm
Well,
sorry,
I think fostering the student participation, that's tied to number 3.
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to have priorities, the SMART goals need to align to the priorities. So, I mean, the strategies are more in that management range, but if you're going to be measuring your priority, you have to measure your priority. If you're not going to be measuring that priority, then maybe that's not one of your top 2.
I wonder if the second one is tied to number 7, because I think that's broad enough to encompass giving teachers more flexibility to individualize their instruction. And I think one of the sources of frustration among teachers is this continuing trend for things to be more and more formulaic. And I know that we as a school obviously can't override the district, but if we can support our teachers in having more flexibility to have control over their teaching methods, to me, I'm sure that would create happier teachers, which is number 7.
Are you speaking of resources in this instance for number 2 in terms of the SMART goal? Is that what are you alluding to that at that point? I'm trying to understand because this is my first time here. I'm just trying to figure out, is this what you're talking about?
She's talking about the second SMART goal, so the second one to the right.
Right,
How
okay,
that-
that's
how
what I
that
was thinking.
Yes, how that affects.
I'm thinking that teachers need to have more autonomy in actual teaching. We can cite some things, although I'm not a language arts or math teacher.
Yeah.
But just listening from the student's perspective, and they tell me everything, even though I teach French. But some things may not be as challenging that has been handed down to them. for the teachers to actually teach, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
And I'm being nice.
So it sounds like you all are kind of saying the same things in terms of just the autonomy to do more. And so are we looking at, we've got number 3, a third priority, and the 7th priority. And we're looking at the second SMART goal: increase access to more rigorous coursework for historically disadvantaged student populations and gifted student populations, and then foster student participation in shaping the culture and climate of the learning community. Are we all in agreement with that? Or with those? Okay. All right, so I'm just gonna go back into this mode, Ms. Baker, so I can copy and
That's
paste.
fine. You do it.
All right. And so we've got increased access. All right, and we are tagging this one too. Let's go back here. We were tagging that one to here. Okay. All right, and then let's go back here and we have foster student participation. Okay. So are we all in agreement with the presented top 2 priorities and top 2 SMART goals? All right, are there any questions or further discussion with this? Okay, all right, and then now we will move on to look at the remaining school priorities, and what we want to do is just rank them in order so that if, let's say, we were to get any additional funds or anything, we would know how to, what type of decisions to make in terms of what our ranking of these priorities are. I'll go ahead and take off number 3.
Miss Antone, I have a question for Miss Jacoby.
Okay.
Because our discussion item for this meeting, it's only identified top 2 strategic priorities. So is this process for the next meeting? Because I attended the Midtown Go Team meeting yesterday, and they were under the impression that this was for the next meeting, because I know we have a lot to cover.
It really should be for this meeting. And the reason for the ranking just the top 2 priorities is because in general, we're finding that most schools may not have the resources to go beyond those top 2. But in these times, it's a good idea to rank at least down to maybe priority 5, because we're not sure how funds are going to be. I'm not sure if anybody listened to the governor's State of the State. There's revenue. We haven't gotten the report yet from the Fulton County Tax Commissioner, but we all know that housing values are up. So we really want to see some other priorities ranked in there in case things between now and the end of February or the end of the school year or the start of the school year change, so that if the principal suddenly gets an influx of funds, then they're like, okay, wait, this is what my Go team told me was the next priority after the top 2, and the next one if I have the money to fund it. So that's why we like to see a couple more on there. You guys have a lot of priorities. So, if you stop after like priority 5 or 6, that's probably okay, because as much as there may be funds, I don't know that you're going to get enough to go down to 11.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Antone, could you increase your screen a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so as we look at the FY23 school priorities, is there anything that really just stands out to you in terms of what would be our 3rd priority, since we ranked the top 2 already?
I'd say number 8, since we were kind of going back and forth between 7 and 8. And to me, some of these are just going to happen, I think. But again, I defer to the teachers. But like number 4, we don't need to do anything extra to make number 4 happen, right? I mean, the school district APS kind of has a program in place, and So I guess that's in my mind, it's not that number 4 isn't important, but it doesn't need any extra Go team focus to happen.
Okay. All right.
And my guess is that's the same for number 1 too. And I think Ms. Baker, you made that point kind of early on. You know, number 1 is going to happen. It doesn't need any extra attention or budget focus by the Go team.
And also,
Okay.
number 2 also.
What we do.
Yeah.
Oh,
So in light of that, I would say if we did 8 as a next priority, I think we would need to do, I would like to see 9, 10, or 11, or maybe 2 of those as priorities. And I know Mr. Webb, you were really focused on helping us get that language right. So I'm wondering, maybe Mr. Webb, if you have some thoughts, you know, between 9, 10, and 11, which one should be a highest priority?
I actually was looking at 5, so I would have to think about 9, 10, and 11.
Okay.
I will go with 5 next.
so right now we have the first priority in terms of ranking orders. Priority number 8 would be number 1. And then I'm hearing number 9 and 10, I think, coming. And then I also heard number 5.
I would say since we have 7 and 8, which are focused on teachers, it'd be good to have 9, 10, or 11. One of those is the next one.
Focus on families. So engage and increase the diversity of families. So are we good with number 9 as being the second?
The numbers are off here.
Yeah, I took off number 3 since we put and 7 since we ranked those top 2.
Yeah, these
Okay,
are the remaining ones. Yeah.
okay, okay.
I would agree with number 9. Increase
Okay.
the diversity of families who engage.
Okay, so number 9, and I know number 5 does go with what we discussed as the top 2, you know, would help towards the retention of teachers and things of that nature. So, so the first priority is 8, the second one is number 9. And the third one, do we want to continue with families and solicit, do number 10 and then come to number 5? Or we talked about families and we can, let's see, Caroline's continue to identify. Let's still families. We could do number 10 and then go back to number 5. Are we good with that? Then we would have 8, number 9, number 10, and then number 5.
I like that. 8,
I
9,
do too.
10, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 4, Mr. Kobe. And you said we need to at least go with the top 6. I know, are you including the top 2 priorities, which we already have? And then we have these 4, and that gives us 6. Or do we need to do 2 more? So what I'm gonna do right now, because I know we have a lot to cover, I'm just gonna go and just put these in by like number 8, priority number 8. We rank that one as number 1 on this list. And then number 9, we actually ranked it as number 2. And then item number 10. 3, and then item number 5, we ranked as 4. All right. And I can go and clean this up afterwards and make it look like it needs to look and reorganize. And then perhaps we could revisit this in our next meeting. Okay. All right. So, so are we agreed with the present ranking of our school priorities, and are there any questions or any further discussion about this action item?
So I want to make sure I'm putting it in the notes right. So we have 7 and 8. We have 9 and we have 5. And what were the other two? It just one.
So the first one, and I'll make it larger, Ms. Baker. And I put it in parentheses, out, right at the end of each one of them. You'll see it.
Okay.
So number 8, priority 8, we rank that one as the first one. Priority number 9, we rank that one as the second.
Okay.
Priority number 10, the third, and then we have priority number 5.
All right.
The fourth.
All right. And I will tell people in the notes that it is in our, it's weird that there's no page numbers listed on these slides, but I will tell them it's in the link. Because this is, as we keep saying, it's a living document. This is already posted on our website, correct?
Okay. It will be there.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
And
And
if you
then-
could put a link in the chat just to make sure that I keep all my communication open to everyone,
Okay.
please and thank you.
Okay. All right. Do I turn it back over to you, Coach Abernathy, to
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I kind of want to adjust a little bit because I don't want to really hold Chief Applin in case he has any other meetings or things he needs to attend. So if we can go ahead and get him in on his discussion, if we're able to, if he's available right now.
I'm available.
Okay. So I will post. So let us know how you want us to do it. Ms. Keenan shared some questions that she wanted Chief Applin and myself to respond to. And so I did put those questions in a slide deck. Okay, so let's see. And let me know if you can see this. Do you see?
Yes,
safety
we can see it.
Okay,
Safety
thank you.
presentation.
Okay, thank you. All right. So the first question was, how many guns have been found at Howard during the 2021-22 school year? We did find 1 gun at our school that did not involve students, and we found 1 gun that was that involved a student. Okay. Also, the question was asked, what is the policy for sending notifications to parents about weapons at school? Does the policy basically require or encourage schools to distinguish between guns and other weapons? And if not, why is there no distinction? And I can respond to that. And Chief Applin, please chime in anytime.
Sure.
But there's not a policy that requires schools to distinguish. However, we do work with the Office of Communications to create a statement to go out to families. And we do have an opportunity to modify anything that we share out with families. And we can distinguish. And so if something should go out, which we hope that does not occur, but if something should have to go out in the future, we can definitely distinguish. Okay. And then a question was asked about statistics on the number of safety related incidents at Howard, various clusters and district wide. And so we'll start with Howard, and then Chief Applin will share about the various clusters district wide, the broader look at it. And so when you look at Howard, and also just in general, you have different categories of weapons. And so category 1 is that the big one, it's going to carry the heavier weight in terms of what happens with in our discipline code. And so you're looking at dangerous weapons and firearms like handguns, rifles, shotguns. And so as I described earlier, we had 1 involving a student and then 1 that was not involving a student. Category 2 would be other things that fall in those categories. That's quite a bit, so I won't read through all of that. But we had 2 incidents. And then when you look at category 3, for example, a knife with a blade less than 2 inches, we had 1. In terms of fights, that was listed too. We have fights with no injuries, and then you have fights with mild, moderate bodily injuries. And we had 25 for the year so far, and 5 that were mild, moderately bodily injuries.
All right. The question was asked about the statistics for Howard and the district. When we look at the district, I'll start with that first. As you can see, the Midtown cluster has the fewest number of incidents that were reported to police or by police. So, I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory. I did not pull out the specifics for all of these cases, but these involves, various different incidents like fights. It could be items stolen, things like that, but more dealing with most of the 29 that you see are dealing with issues of violence, some type of violence. Can you go to the next one? When we talk about the Midtown cluster specifically, let's talk about Howard. At Howard, there were only 4 incidents that were reported to police or by police. We actually there were 5. There's one additional. The last gun that was recovered was not included in this number. But so there were 2 guns, of course, as the principal mentioned, and then there were 3 other incidents, 2 involving a fight, and 1 had to do with some type of drugs. I don't have the specifics for that, but those were the things that we reported. They're very low in comparison to some of the schools. Okay.
And you can speak up on that if you like.
Right. Yeah. So when we talk about strategies, we look at a layered approach, and I do want to emphasize the importance. You can see the stuff written on the screen, but I do want to emphasize the importance of the parents too. And so it's not just the responsibility. When we talk about safety at any school, we want to include the parents, the teachers, the students themselves, and of course the police department. So we partner with several agencies like Atlanta Police and Fulton County Sheriff's Office to help us to provide a safe and secure environment for our students. But at the end of the day, it's all of our responsibilities to try to help make sure our schools are safe. One thing, and I may go out of order in this list, but one of the things I want to mention, I think is very important, and I ask the help of all the parents, is to check your kids' bag before they leave. Look at the bag, actually open it up and look inside and see what they have. A lot of cases we found where kids were in possession of firearms and parents didn't even realize it. I'm a parent. One of the things that I started doing was checking my kid's phone. She doesn't like it, but that's what I do. I pay the bill, and unfortunately, she has to live with that. But when you think about this, that's one of the biggest things that'll help us out a whole lot is to check your kids' bags in the morning. I don't know if you need me to go through every single one of these things that's listed. It's on the screen. You can read through it, but just thinking about some more highlight things to highlight. The Say Something Anonymous reporting program. A few years ago, the Secret Service wrote a paper that talked about active shooter events at schools. And one of the things they said that in 84% of the cases, someone knew about it, and that people needed a method to report that. So we have the Say Something Anonymous reporting system. So a parent, a teacher, a student can report any issues discreetly without them being known to anyone else. So that is one thing that I think is going to help us out a whole lot, is we can prevent issues from happening, is, all the things that we have in place, that the principals put in place. And they've done a lot of things this week to really reinforce the things that they already had in place. And I'll be very clear, while we can do all sorts of things to prevent a person from getting anything into a school, weapon, drug, whatever, it can be very challenging, especially in environments that we have right now. We're inner city. We have a large number of students who come and go from our schools. But at the end of the day, if we look at this layered approach, where we're looking at, the screening when a person comes into the building, or the parents are checking, or whether we're bringing in, gun detection canines to check around the building, all of those things together help to strengthen and create a deterrence for students to bring guns into school.
Okay.
Catherine, I'm sorry, Miss Antone, just one thing before you go on. A lot of parents have been frustrated, and I think there's been a lot of anxiety and fear. And some people have advocated for a TSA type search. you know, both a backpack search and metal detectors, I personally am guessing that that's not feasible and honestly not effective. So do you have any thoughts? And I very much appreciate this layered approach. But can you just comment on whether metal detectors are the cure-all to safety at schools?
No, and just to be clear, I mean, one of the things I mentioned, a layered approach, that's going to make a difference. It's not just the metal detectors. It's the metal detectors. It's the say something anonymous reporting. It's the parents checking those bags before they come to school. It is the availability of teachers teachers and officers who created a relationship with students who are comfortable coming and telling us, hey, Johnny has a gun. It's all of those things together is what's going to make the difference here in the school. And I know there's a lot of people who do not like the idea of having metal detectors in schools. I understand it, I get it, but unfortunately, we're in an area where we kind of have to do that right now. We're not in a space where we're able to not do that right now. Does that answer your question, Jennifer? I'm sorry.
And one other question on that. I guess, can metal detectors be an effective tool if it's more of a spot check? So, not having every single student go through the metal detector every single day, because, we have lots of lines and issues.
Right.
Can metal detectors?
There are recommendations that talk about doing random searches, every fifth person, sixth person. I mean, those are things, but the question is, do you want to do that? I mean, and at the end of the day, what if that third, fourth, fifth person, if the kids, a smart person who really wants to get a gun into the building and they come through that checkpoint, they're gonna, they may figure that out. I mean, so, but I get it. It's one of those things we can talk about, but I would say, and I would recommend we screen everyone for right now. And as we get comfortable with doing that, and and this layered approach, we can look at doing some other things to help, facilitate getting kids into the building a lot quicker than what we're doing right now. But I would say if people are that concerned right now, we need to go ahead and do everyone right now. And then we can, like I said, as time goes on, we can look at some other methods of doing that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There was also a question, does the school plan to have any discussion with students about the incidents? So we've had the say something, say something posters up since the first day of school, but we have increased those posters and we're doing a training tomorrow with staff and students. And also the next Wednesday when we do advisory, students will have a safe space to talk about this. And also continue on those themes about, what to do in times of conflict and staying calm, thoughts and emotions. We'll be talking about that, and we'll be engaging in discussions about active shooter drills, because in the past, we haven't done them in the past because of the anxiety that kids suffered in the past, but we will be having these conversations to let kids know that we will be conducting these drills, that these are the active shooter drills. Our staff was trained on the emergency management at the beginning of the year with active shooters, and we'll be revisiting that. So we'll be doing 2 drills during second semester. We always have all of our support staff ready and available to assist students who struggle when we have those type of incidents. And also we shared a lot of different things that we are doing on Friday in our memo. We'll continue to put that out to make sure that everyone knows, what we're doing or what types of safety measures we have in place. In terms of the safety committee, we also shared that, we've always had a safety team, even at MM, but every year the safety team updates the safety plan. It is a requirement. And this year, it consists of an administrative team, our resource officers, both of them, and also personnel from the Office of Safety and Security. We also have our PTO president who will be serving as our parent representative. And we will work to routinely assess and update any protocols and safety measures as needed. Another thing we just want to put out there, we'll be sharing with families this week. We do have the Lunch and Learn on Thursday at 1:30, but we will be encouraging families to sign up for the Sandy Hook Promise as a parent. for access to a lot of valuable resources. There are student training videos, videos about preventing suicide. There's just a lot of valuable resources there that we'll be encouraging families to sign up for or register, shall I say, on that site. And we'll be putting that link out there. Okay. I think that answered all of the questions in terms of myself and Chief Applin.
Yeah, I have just two other questions. There seems to be some confusion about a gun being found in December.
No, we have no other guns that have been in our building.
Okay.
Not
So
how.
yeah, people have been speculating and wondering about that.
Nope.
Yeah, that's one of the things when we talk about communication that every school I've seen would send something out to parents when it happens. So
there's a major event, we immediately notify our associate superintendent's office, and we have to put out communication in those types of events. And a gun is a Category 1 weapon. And so that has to be reported. And this is the first time that we have experienced this.
Okay, thank you. With respect to the active shooter drills, Chief Applin, do you have any statistics or information on how many active shooter drills per year are conducted at the middle school level? And I'm asking because I'm concerned that 2 this semester is excessive, given the anxiety that it causes.
right, and I can understand that completely. Every school is I won't say required, we're asked to do 2 drills every year. So whether that's 1 at the beginning of the year, you can, whatever time frame the principal feels is appropriate for the school to do that. And one of the things we talked about, Dr. Antone and I talked about was, just making sure we announce it. We send something out to the parents, say, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do it on this day. And when it does happen, saying something on the intercom, saying, look, this is a drill. This is a drill, making sure we really look at the script of that so that we give people some warning and heads up that it's going to be done.
Thank you. That'll be very helpful. Thank you very much.
But I'll say this, I just hope that we never have to do that. I really do. I mean, the police department, we're prepared for it, but I just hope that we never have to respond to anything like that. So prevention is key. So parents, I need your help. Students, we need your help. Just be vigilant and focus on things like that. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I will say, as a parent, this information has been extremely helpful, and has helped put my mind at ease. In addition, the very lengthy communication that Ms. Antone sent out on Friday, highlighting all the various steps that the school has taken. So I thank both of you and everyone for working on that. And I think, Ms. Antone, it'd be great if Ms. Baker could include a link to your presentation or, somehow attach that to our minutes.
Okay.
That it's visible, for people who are looking at the minutes later on.
Will do.
All right. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief Applin.
Thank you, Chief
Have a great
Applin.
day.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
All right, Ms. Baker, I am putting that in the chat for you, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Okay.
All right, next on the agenda is the allocation review.
Okay, so we are now at the discussion of the budget summary, and let me make this larger so you can see it. Okay. So the budget basically represents an investment plan for our schools, students, employees, and the community as a whole. These recommendations will be tied directly to our school's strategic vision and direction. The proposed budget for the general operations of the school are reflected at $9,749,427. This investment plan for our fiscal year 23 accommodates a student population that is projected to be 1,118 students, which is a decrease of 71 students from fiscal year 22 from our current year. Okay. And so what we're looking at here is our school allocation. And you'll notice up top, you'll see some numbers. You'll see in blue that row going across SSF category. That SSF is our new student success funding model that basically allocates dollars to our schools based on the number of enrolled students. And we receive a funding weight based on need. And so our projected enrollment, as you see up top, we are, like I said earlier, we are down by 71 students, which equates to getting less money. And so, for example, in our current budget, when you look at the weight per base pupil, and you see here the $4,506 per base per pupil. This current year, we're at $4,657 versus this $4,506, which is $151 less per student that we're receiving. And so I do want to say, as we go through this, so that you do have this in mind, we are with this budget, and I know we haven't gotten the numbers from Fulton or the CAB. Hopefully it'll be some good news because we do have a deficit of $568,000. And so I do want to make sure you are aware of that. You will see you have the counts here when you look at this particular column, the weight and the allocation. And as you review each area, you'll notice that we have a number by 6th grade, but we don't have dollars tied to 7th and 8th. And basically, that is because we do get funds for our 6th graders because it is a transition year. We also get money for our poverty and concentration of poverty as well. EIP/REP, that is basically is REP for middle schools, EIP for elementary, but that's our connection teachers, like connection reading, connection math, special education. You can see the numbers here. We got funds for gifted as well, our English language learners, ELL, incoming performance, which would be the Georgia milestone performance, which I think it went based off the last performance in 2020. And all of this adds up to $6,859,921, which is a part of this 9 million up here. And so that's one part of it. We also have those additional earnings. And this is the portion that makes up the rest of that $9,749,427. As you can see, the total additional earnings here that almost, it got the $2,889 here. But here you'll see a line for signature programming where we have $160,000. That number might be changing. As you know, our cluster is exploring a different signature program. And so we must have a signature program coordinator or specialist next year. So that has to be a part of what we look at as we're making decisions around the budget. We also have the Title IV behavior. This was not there last year. So these are funds that we are receiving this year that wasn't there last year. From my understanding, they used a different funding formula last year where they looked at the poverty rate, and this year they did not. And it may be that this may be taken away, it may increase, or it could decrease. And I do want to make sure I recognize Mr. Courtney Calhoun, who was also on the call, who actually provides us with our budget and helps us with anything budgets. And so I do want to introduce him as well.
Good evening, everyone.
Okay, we do have summer bridge funds this year, as well as field trip transportation, district funded stipends. And like I said, all of this, and then you see the total FTE allotments. That's basically all of the staff that we are actually funding as it relates to these additional earnings. And like I said, this makes up the other part, the difference of that $9,749,427. All right, when you look at this particular slide, you'll see the different budgets by function. And so anything here, you'll see, you know, you got 91 FTEs here. Where you see instruction, this is the account that we use when we're funding, you know, instructional staff. For our pupil services, you're talking about those areas where you're going to have staff who are not actually teaching, like our restorative practice coaches. And those are pretty much like our deans. And you see the number 4, and then we have a SEL coach, which one of our counselors were coded as. And so this number is going to go up, because this year the program managers at the district level wanted to make sure that there were certain positions that every school had. For example, a registered nurse, a school psychologist, and also a social worker, because not all schools had, you know, a full-time registered nurse or a school social worker. So they wanted to make sure that those funds were pushed down. And so you're going to see this number actually go up once we include those positions in our staffing tab on our budgets. Also, improvement of instructional services. That's where we'll have instructional coaches, which we currently do not have. And staff trainings, educational media services. Something to note here is that that's another area that the program managers at the district level want to make sure that every school has this upcoming year a full-time certified media specialist. And so we've got to make sure that we have that in place this year as well. School administration, that's going to include all of your admin team, your business manager, your secretary, bookkeeper, people of that nature. Maintenance and operations, your custodians, your building engineer. And then you see we don't have anything in transportation here. This particular slide basically shows you where most of our funds are allocated when you look at budget by function. So most of our funds are going towards instruction, the instructional area, which is going to be staff, okay? And you can see the pupil services here, that's at 4%. That will go up once we plug those staff in that we talked about under pupil services. And then you also have school administration at 9%, and then maintenance and operation. But this just pretty much shows you what it looks like overall in terms of how those funds are allocated. We will receive CARES Act funds next year as well, where we have earned $239,000 for next year. And I will say that whatever funds we do not use this year, as it relates to the CARES funds, are supposed to roll over to next year. And so I think that's going to be really important as we're looking at a deficit of $568,000. And so you may ask yourself, what types of things can we actually use with CARES Act funds? And here are some of the ways that they can be used, you know, as we're thinking about what our priorities are and the direction we want to go in. Technology support, mental and physical health, supplemental learning, professional development, at-risk student populations, as well as continuity of core staff and services. And so you can fund certain positions with the CARES Act, the CARES allocations as well. In terms of what's next, we're having a Go Team initial budget session. However, in February, there'll be one-on-one associate superintendent discussions and cluster planning to look at position sharing, cluster alignment, program manager discussions and approvals. And then we'll have a Go Team feedback session. I do want to say that I would ask that we move the February Go Team date to February 15th, so that as we are creating this, allocating these funds and making decisions around the budget, we can share with you. And then if you have questions before those staffing conferences, because our staffing conference will be in February, and we want to be able to give you time to review some things over the budget and ask questions and get clarification and make sure that we are on the same page with what the Go Team is advocating for. since the HR staffing conferences are late February. So if we move it to February 15th, that would give us enough time to make that happen. And then for March, I think I gave Coach Abin after this date, but for March, before the final Go Team approval, I would ask that we move that March date up as well, so that it's not at the end of the month, but move it to March 15th, so that we can make sure that we have all feedback from the Go Team as well.
So Ms. Antone, will this slide be on the this deck be on the Go Team page, or where can we access this information?
Okay, I should be able to share this with Ms. Baker so that we can post it, correct, Mr. Jacoby?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Any presentations like this given at a Go Team meeting are part of the minutes, so they just get attached at the end. So Ms. Baker, as secretary, you don't have to take down all this information. You can just say, Principal Antone presented, the initial budget, see attached report.
Ms. Antone, I had a question on a slide, and as Ms. Baker noted, they're not numbered. So I think if you go back maybe around 5, no, I'm sorry. Go down one more. Okay, this one, yes. This one, yes, thank you. So I'm not clear on that pupil services, because and I know we're not voting on a budget, but I just want to make sure I understand this line item. You said that we're at a $500,000 deficit, and additional positions are going to have to be added to there, correct?
Yes, so basically, if I'm not mistaken, and Mr. Calhoun, you can chime in if I say the wrong thing, but for example, the social worker, the school psychologist, the nurse, basically what the program managers are doing is just pushing those funds down so we can make sure that it is here, and it's actually not under SSF, correct, Mr. Calhoun?
So yeah, so with adding those 4 positions in the media specialist, those funds are already accounted for in the budget. So when the schools add those positions, it will not increase the overall unallocated balance. So it's just pretty much creating the position so it's reflective on the staffing tab. So HR and Principal Antone can post and hire for those positions. So
yeah.
So for those, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
So for those 3 positions, 4 positions, the media specialist, the psychologist, social worker, nurse, those will not, when we add those into the budget, those are already accounted for. So it will not increase that deficit.
And then another way to look at it perhaps, and maybe we can look at that in the next meeting, is that like those are earned positions, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Calhoun, correct?
Yes, earned positions, basically what you said earlier, where those funds and positions are pushed down from the central office department down to the schools.
Yeah, so those any position that is earned will not, when we're trying to get that 568,000 down to 0, any earned position, whether you take it off or not, it will not reflect in the unallocated balance. And so really what you're looking at are, all of those positions under the school success funding area. And so, but anything that is earned, such as those positions, will not reflect in the that deficit amount. It won't do anything to it.
Okay.
I have go ahead, Ms. Keenan.
And then my other question, if the numbers don't change, are we as a Go Team, do we as a Go Team work with you, Ms. Antone, to determine how to balance the budget? And does that mean the elimination of positions? So
we always want to try not to, as much as possible, eliminate any positions. However, I know that is definitely a great deficit. So what we will be charged to do is look at what those priorities are that we have ranked, and try to make decisions from there. And like we said earlier, looking at positions and not people.
Yes.
And try to, if we have to eliminate any positions, try to figure out a way to eliminate the least amount as possible. And that was one reason why I said with any funds that we currently still have with the CARES Act this year, allowing them to roll over, because you can fund certain positions with CARES Act funds. Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
I have a question, one question. I mean, when does this, so we're gonna have these extra meetings and talk about it. Is it in the next meeting where we're gonna bounce the budget? Like, what's the nitty gritty? Okay, this is where it looks now. Somehow 500,000 needs to be in revenue, needs to be added or cut in expenses. Like, what's the?
Yeah, so we'll be working on making proposals and even working with Mr. Brown to make some determinations, and then we will meet again. I propose for our next meeting date to change it to February 15th so that we have time for those discussions. And if you have other questions and things before those staffing meetings occur at the end of February. So I propose that, or ask that we meet February 15th and March 15th so we can make sure that we do look at this.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right, if we don't
Is
have
that-
any further questions, I guess we move on to the principal's report.
Okay, thank you. I'll make this quick. Just updates in terms of COVID-19 and I would say test to stay. We have started test to stay, on the 18th, and I do believe has really increased the number of students testing. We were having about 430 students to go through surveillance testing consistently, and now we're up to like 540 something students, and hopefully that number will increase. And remember, test to stay really focuses on those students who and staff who are unvaccinated with no symptoms, but they're consistently testing every Tuesday and Friday. And the exposure would have to take place at school or school-related activity. In terms of, we will be doing an award ceremony for our students. And we are set on February 16th as that date. Right now it is virtual, and we'll be broadcasting that. And, after looking at the budget and discussing Saturday school, with admin, we did talk about, the importance of maybe looking at those funds and having those funds roll over to next year. As we didn't have enough staff who wanted to come out on a Saturday. And so that's pretty much the updates there.
And then Miss Antone, we added an update on the status of the 6th grade counselor.
Oh, yes. For the 6th grade counselor. So we had just in light of the FY23 budget, we kind of didn't want to bring on a new person where we are possibly having to cut any positions, because if there are people who leave and things of that nature, you always want to look from within people who are in the building. But we did bring on a substitute counselor who started today. Her name is Miss Brenda Knott, and we sent messaging out to all of our 6th grade parents.
And has she been a counselor in APS before?
Yeah, Miss Knott is a retired teacher / counselor, and she's been a counselor in APS and Henry County school system.
All right, any other questions?
Miss Antone, can you just send a link in the chat to your budget presentation so I can make sure I have that? Thank you.
Okay, will do.
I have a question for Mr. Brown, if he's still on. Mr. Brown, I know you sent the communication on Friday to give an update about the retired principal who'll be coming to the school to help support the school. Can you provide any more information on, who that person is and when they'll start and what the schedule is? Will they be there? Will they be at Howard every day? Will they be there once a week? Just provide an overview of how that retired principal support is going to work.
Okay. Well, the principal support is Dr. Snowden. She is a retired principal from Atlanta Public Schools. She actually started on Monday as well. She will be, I think Ms. Anton has her schedule for the week. She is part-time, so she won't be there full days, but she will be there almost every day of the week for a 4 to 5 hour time period. So she's already working with Ms. Anton. Ms. Anton had time to work with her on yesterday, as well as today. And as far as the new principal, where we're looking for the new principal placement, we will start that process again in March. The Go team and the parent community did establish a profile for the principal. I did speak with Dr. Patterson, who's over the principal hiring pool. There is a principal profile. She does not want to share it with the public, but she will be able to share it with the Go team. And so we'll go through the same process we did before, where the Go team will come in. We will kind of go through the principal profile, develop the questions that we're going to ask the candidate, and then that candidate will go through the process as well. Our goal is hopefully after this second round of interview that we actually find the right person for Howard Middle School for next year, based on those, the profile. But I always try to make sure people are aware that a profile is a great wish list. Every candidate may not have all of them, and we try to find the best fit for the school.
Can you just say that retired teacher's name again? I missed it.
The retired principal is Dr. Snowden.
Thank you.
And the retired counselor is Brenda Knott.
Oh, and how do you spell her name?
Ms. Knott is Knott.
Perfect. Thank you.
And Mr. Brown, I apologize. I thought I saw a date for interviews, but it sounds like we don't have a date yet. So we
Yeah,
as the
it's in the,
coaches-
I actually put it in the memo that I sent out on Friday.
Okay, I thought I did. See.
So yeah, so the way we will do it, as we've done before, I will meet with the Go team chair and co-chair on I'm looking at it right now, on February 25th. We will go through the application and pick the ones we want to interview, and the interview will take place on March 8th.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any announcements before we get to public comment? All right, I will announce that the next meeting will be February the 15th at 4:45. For Go team members, I will send out a reminder because I know we had a different date set for February. I will send it out this week, if not next.
If I may, I'd have a couple announcements from the Go team office. First off, thank you all for all that you're doing. We always really appreciate the work that you all put in. The two quick announcements are, please remember to do your budget training in Ellis. I promise the video is 5 minutes and there's only 10 questions. You should be able to knock it out really quickly. If you haven't completed your annual ethics training or your new member training, please be sure to also do that while you're in Ellis. The second announcement is, in addition to budget season, it is Go team election season. And we're going to be doing a soft open of declarations this week for Go team members who might be rolling off, or let me rephrase that. We're going to do a soft open this week for Go team members. If your term is ending in June of 2022, you will be receiving an email probably tomorrow on that. And then it opens for the entire community on February 1st. This year, every single school has 2 parent seats and 2 staff seats that are up for election. Middle schools are particularly difficult sometimes to get people to run, especially for the parent seats, because your children are only there for 3 years. So if your children are aging out and you no longer qualify to be on the Howard Go team, or you've reached your term limit, or circumstances are you're not going to serve at Howard anymore, you could really help Miss Antone and the leadership team there by helping to identify somebody to run. While we send out through APS Communications and the Go Team office that declarations are open, we cannot stress enough how much a personal invitation how far that will go. So if you know of somebody who always has very thoughtful insight and would lend a good voice for all of the kids at DT Howard, we strongly encourage you to invite them to declare and send the link, and not just tell them the link is out there. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other announcements before we move to public comment? All right, this is David T. Howard, meeting of the Go Team. Go Team welcomes and encourages all citizens to attend meetings to get better acquainted with the programs at David T. Howard. This meeting is open to the public. Citizens are welcome to attend the meeting. For those of you wishing to provide comment, there's a lot of time on the agenda. The sign-up sheet is posted on the Go Team page of our school's website. Each member of the public will have 2 minutes to speak. At the end of those 2 minutes, we will ask you to not speak to allow others to speak. Public comment is designed to gain input from the public and not for immediate responses by the Go Team members. At the end of this session, we will conclude and then set the meeting for adjournment. So I believe we have 3 people allotted today for public comment. So as I look down, I see Mr. Hampton is the only person that I see down here. So I think we have 1 person for public comment. Mr. Hampton, you will have 2 minutes and I will stop you at the end of that 2 minutes.
All right, thanks for the time. First off, I appreciate everybody that's on this meeting. I know that public meetings aren't easy. Being a volunteer on public meetings like this is something that's worthwhile, and I appreciate everybody that's on it. I'm on this meeting, and I guess I'm the only one on this meeting in light of the circumstances that are surrounding the current issues that just happened at the school. And, just watching the meeting and how it's progressed, it seems like it's a great thing. But in my company, safety is like the number one thing. It goes on top of all of the strategic planning that we ever do. And it just kind of, it irks me a little bit just thinking about the fact that number 3 was safety, and somehow it got eliminated altogether. If you don't have that environment to begin with, then teachers and school and parents and kids going to school, they're just not going to feel safe. The environment's got to be safe. That seems like a priority item. It wasn't easy to get on this meeting. I know that the announcement went out, and then we had literally a day to sign up for it. And I would expect that there would just be a lot more people on it, but obviously there isn't. So those are my comments. I'm going to be at the Lunch and Learn that's on Thursday too. I'm sure that there'll be other parents in that meeting as well. But I feel like we just need to focus on safety, and that should be the number 1 thing on this strategic plan before we start talking about other things. And that's what I have to add to this meeting, and I look forward to the one on Thursday.
Thank you for your comment, Mr. Hamilton. All right, that concludes our public comment session. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Ms. Baker's making a motion. Can I have a second?
I second, Ms. Audria.
Ms. Reese, second. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, raise your hand. Any abstentions? Thank you for everyone for attending today's meeting. I hope you all have a great evening. See you in February.
Thank you all so much. As a reminder, the facilities master planning meeting is currently going on. So